こんにちは、ピー。
こんにちは。よし、やりましょう。いや、なんかこのゲーム、よくわかんないんだけど、なんだっけ、ちょ
何
っと待ってね。ちょっと待ってね。なんか、フィンチ家の奇妙な屋敷で起きたことっていうなんかゲームなんだけど、なんか今無料でできるゲームなんだって。で、なんかどういうゲームなのかわかんないんだけど、謎解きっぽいのね。で、今一番始まる。
謎解き。
そう、いきなりこの画面が出てきた。だからちょっとやってみようかな。じゃあやります。どうやんのこれ。何？あ、そうそう。
ほえ
なんか船の上だね。どうしたらいいの？
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
あ、なんか始まった。11歳までこの家に住んでたって書いてあったね。あ、歩ける。一人称ゲームだね。操作がわかんない。あ、三角でメニュー。これなんだろ
リアルだね。
う。リアルだね。フィンチ家、これがフィンチ家の家系図かな、多分。音量大丈夫これ。三角でメニューね。三角でメニュー。
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
家の半分は立ち入りは許されてなかった。あ、L1 でなんかアップできる。L2 でアップ。
怖くない。
怖いかもしれない。わかんないけどね。あ、R2 でなんか
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
7年前。じゃああれか。今18ぐらいなのかな、
I
主
hadn't
人
been
公が。
back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
戻ってきたのは初めて。開いた。
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
へえ。
Maybe she thought I'd know, or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me
なんか
back.
謎解きっぽいね。これどっち行くの？下じゃなさそうだね。下かな。こっちじゃないかな。怖いかもしれない、このゲーム。
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
ひずめの跡がいくつかあった。ひずめ？
暗いね。
暗いね。鹿がいるよ。どっか行った。
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
鹿。
But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
バスケットゴール。高いね、バスケットゴール。こんな高いっけ。こんなもんか。カエルの鳴き声。
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
やばい家だね。何あの右上おかしくない？あれどうなってんの？
As a child, the The house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
ちょっと待って。運動大丈夫これ。うわ。
廃墟だ。
廃墟だね。
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
普通に BGM とか大きくない？俺なんか自分ですごい大きく感じるんだけど。大丈夫かな？
いい感じ。
いい感じ？鍵？ここで
I
鍵
hoped the
使
key
うの
might
かな？
unlock the front door. It didn't.
あ、開かない。これ裏口ってことかな？ん？
Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
意外と普通の家なんだね。じゃあ裏の方行きますか。走りたい。ここら辺にはないのかな。あ、多分ここだね。ここじゃないかな。何？あ、こっから入るの？
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
セーブしてる。アイテムとか拾うのかな？なんか怖いかな。
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
怖い。
今はなんか
But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
はあ。
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
広いね、お家。なんか怖っ。あそこか。さっき通ってきたとこ。
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
どういうゲームなんだろうね。
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
お、すごい。吸い込まれてった。大丈夫かな。
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
地下室やばそう。
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
怖いね、地下室。
怖いね。オルゴールってなんかこういうゲームでやると怖いね。ゲームでオルゴールは怖い。これ開くのかな？内側からわかんない。
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
虚栄。
開かないよ。あ、不幸
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
書庫。何にもないね、書庫は。2階があるね。
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms.
寝
Then
室を
Edie
全て
retaliated and drilled peepholes.
あ、なるほどね。これが覗き穴ってわけね。グレゴリー。
As a
グレゴリ
kid, I
ーさん
just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
カルビン。
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
うん。
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
なんなんだこれ。ちょっともうちょい振り向きを早くできないかな。あれ、
何人家族だ。
何人家族なんだろう。めちゃめちゃ多いな。
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
あ、このバーバラ・フィンチってフィンチだ。フィンチ家にバーバラがいるんだね。バーバラの部屋。
Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
へ
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
え。
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
これ開くのかな。開いた。なんだろう。20,000
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
すごい。
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
これ入っていいのかな。もうちょっと散策しようか。森。
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
10歳で死んじゃってる。どうしようかな。上の階行こうか。
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
なるほど。行きましょう。
怖いよ。
怖いね。ちょっと。
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
どこ？誰の部屋？
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
怖いな。
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting. I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here, before my mom sealed the doors.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
これ何？
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
食べた。美味しいのかな。モリーの視点になったんだ。
I ate a lot of things that night.
今日ネズミに会った。
え、そうなの？なんで？会っちゃったのか。
My Halloween candy was all gone.
ピザ屋に現れた。
マジ？ちょっとやばいよそれは。
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
寝ろってさ。
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
え？どういうこと？猫になったよ。飛べる。
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
なんだと。
猫になった。すごいすごい。めっちゃ飛べる。
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating at Mama Bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
なんなのこれ。
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find
What?
something bigger.
怖いわ。
A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
どういうこと？奥さんが乗ったよ。やばい、どういうゲームなのかわかんない。転がってる いた。お、すごい。R2 を押すとペチペチできる。あ、転がるんだ。おお、痛い。
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean.
積んだ。
Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
やばいやばい。
Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry,
かわいい
I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes,
怖いね。
everything changed.
すべてが変わってた。何が？ヘビになったよ、ヘビ。
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
どうなっているんだ。
どうなってるんだ？ヘビみたいな。どこに行くんだ？こっちかな。なんかぽいな。
人間食べるの？
I was big,
人間だ。
real quiet.
怖いよ。
怖いって言うと何なんだろうね、これ。
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Belly with a rust. Belly with a rust. Belly with a razor.
これもね。
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to
Yeah,
cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. I got closer and closer.
これ自分の部屋じゃん。
映画みたいだね。
映画みたいだね。自分の部屋だ。
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
戻ってきた。
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
すごい、う
ごわ
まいね。うまいね。で、ここからどこに行こ
I can't describe it, but
う。
I felt like some part of Molly was still here.
おお、これはいるってことだね。どこかな。じゃあ探してみよう。あ、なるほど。猫だね。
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom.
ほう。
Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
オーディン。
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother. The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
すごいな。
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down. I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
ごい今足揺らしてる。
My brother said he'd
Blanco.
die before he ate another
ブラ
mushroom.
ンコだ。
And he did.
ブラジル人。
ブラジル人。ミラクル。なんて書いてあるの？
あは
あはは。止めればいいのかな。これ両足動くんじゃんこいつ。なんだ、完全にこっちだけだと思ってた。これ出たもんずっと。なんだ、
At Barbara's funeral, we swore
受け
we'd
る。
never be afraid again.
片
And
足
he
だけで
wasn't.
声
I
だ。
think Calvin always
Oh.
wanted to fly.
Mom! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here.
おお、
But I doubt it.
すごい。
I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
めちゃめちゃ行くじゃん。もうやめた方がいいよねこれ。もう一回消すよこれ。うわ
The day he made up his mind to fly, and he did.
ー、すごい、めっちゃ飛ぶ。危な、こいつ死んだでしょ今。
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same
ごわ
thing.
危な、すごいな。
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
死んじゃってんじゃんお葬式。死んじゃったんだ。これは何なんだこれ。え、何え、何この家、すごいな。
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
どこに出たんだ。お、これはバーバラの部屋だ。戻ってきた。開かないんだよね。これは奥に行こうかな。じゃあこれバーバラの部屋だね。じゃあ次は。
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
怖い
Of all
ね
the。stories people wrote about Barbara's death,
怖いね
I'm surprised
これは
Edie saved this one.
バーバラ死んじゃったんだね。
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks.
すごっ
I'll be back in a
これ
sec.
じゃん鍵を
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't
なるほど
returned. So Barbara went to look for him.
地下の鍵があるねあそこにじゃあ
She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
そう操作できるねバツバツで
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
怖いよおう
怖いねなんかでも
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
怖いねそう暴れてる暴れてるレジレジサンドバッグ
キー
The fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
お殴っちゃった
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, we're dead, Walter.
何まだ動けるちょっと怖いよあ殴っちゃったこれいけないぞ
怖いなり。
探せば武器。
むっちり人暴れてる。
むっちりしむ。上の階に行くぞ。おおおおおおおおお。ローラースケートが落ちてきた。いや怖いよ。
怖い。トイレ行きたい。
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara. There's gotta be another way out of here.
道を探すんだ。どこどこどこ。どこ？どこどこ。ここじゃん。
She played her part beautifully.
ここは誰の部屋だっけ？モリーか。どういうこと？
But she sensed the story might not be over yet.
どこに行くの？外は？停電の。しますか。
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was...
怖いよ。
At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
怖い。
あ、やばい。
Oh dear.
普通に言うじゃん。
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter, hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
黒い。
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
不気耳。不気耳。あ、不気耳か。あ、耳ってことね。お、やべえ。やばい話だな。
どういう
Edie
こ
told me all
と？
Barbara wanted was to be
多分
remembered, as
殺されちゃ
absurd
っ
as
た
that
ってこ
comic
とだよね。
was. Maybe what Edie saw was
そ
a
の
happy
なん
ending.
だハロウィンでなんかみんなで襲いに来たってことじゃない？殺しに。わかんないけどね。まあ多分死んじゃったんだよね。これでオルゴールだね。
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
トイレ行けない。
いってらっしゃい。オルゴール1階だよね。
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
お、鍵。うわ、開ける。開けちゃった。うわ、地下来たよ。怖い。
ハラ
Mom
ハ
said
ラ
the。basement was off
Oh.
limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
ヒヤヒヤ。
これで手を切っちゃったんだよね。
ムチムチ。
ムチムチ、ん？いや
I
い
saw
や、ムチ
Edie
ムチ。
sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
あ、冷蔵庫だ。
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years.
またこれはウォルターの話なのかな今度は。
On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
すごいな。
なんだ。
なんなんだ。なんで揺れてるんだ。地震かな。化け物がいるって言ってたけど。
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara.
あ、バーバラを殺した何か。
And Molly.
あ、何かがいるんだ。殺人
And
鬼。
Calvin.
みんなが殺されちゃったんだね。
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day. Even if it kills me. Whatever's out there,
外だ。
I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month.
怖いね。
Or a single
怖いね。
week.
でも外だね、普通に。
I'd be happy with one little day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
電車、汽車か。汽車に。ちょっと。
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
やべえ。じゃあ地下があるね。
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
じゃあこれ一回外に出られるね。
電車で部屋が揺れてたの。
かな。
Maybe
そう
she
だ
was
ね。
afraid I
電
ended
車
up
で
like Walter.
電車で揺れてたんだね。
But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
ウォルター死んじゃったんだね。これ亡くなってる。
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me.
そう、指導ですか。
But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think
未だに
people
この
in
ゲー
these
ムが
stories
何なの
believe
か分かって
them
ないんだよな。
for what that's worth.
上か。めっちゃ動いてる。葉っぱが。
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
ブルブル。
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery may be more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant. I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
ごわ
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Hold.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. That was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Let's see.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive... Great shot, Dawn! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay? Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
おじさん痙攣してる。
おじさん。ああ。
Of Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me. Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something. After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what I saw. What his world was like. Reminded me so much of Captain lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw. It sure made him happy. Silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel her slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Hold on, I don't want you to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory. About everything.
I
know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure it's happened. He'd want you to have it too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. Make this pride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam.
Blah.
But I didn't. Until we found you.
やべえ。
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus. My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings. Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room, except Louis. Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior.
What?
His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss, but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows. We followed the sound of her electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. Began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him. On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. my mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your story. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around.
寝そう。
マジか。
For a while, I wondered.
なんだって。
I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain. but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
終わり？
終わりじゃないこれ。何これ？どういうこと？何が起きたの？途中めっちゃ眠くなったけど。
眠かったね。
眠かったね。お、トロフィー獲得。すべての終わりっていうトロフィー。終わったかもしれん。
ほえ。
何これ？どういうこと？終わったっぽいけど、何なんだ？主人公がエリスだったのかな？ またトロフィーだ。何これ、どういうこと？わかんないよ。
絵文字キラキラ。
絵文字キラキラ、絵文字キラキラ、なんだ絵文字キラキラ。いや、不思議なゲームだったね。
みんなが死んじゃう話だね。
そうだね、みんなが死んじゃった話なのかな。
眠かった。
眠かったね。眠い。
最後
最後眠かった。終わった。終わったよ。
終わった。
そう、終わった始まったの急に。理解できたわ。こういうスタート。あ、いや違う、これ子供だ。子供が日記を見たんだ。日記を見たってことだね。このエリス・フィンチっていう人を
なるほど。
見たら、ほらほらほら、フィンチの書いた日記っていうか家の中を見て、あ、そういうことか。なるほど。ああ、理解した。いやー、いろいろあるな。トロフィーが。 かな、これで。よし、ゲームクリアってことでね、寝ましょう。じゃあ終わりです。バイバーイ。おやすみ。